Hi, and this is Alison Terry, the Sky Whisperers, and today we have a really special guest, Sue Brayne, who we both trained with at the faculty, and we're absolutely delighted to invite her to chat with us today. And Sue's got a really particular interest because she brings together astrology with the dying process to show how it can ease and help the our understanding of the whole concept of death. And you came into that in a very roundabout way, I think, Sue. Perhaps you'd tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I did. I mean, it started. I mean, even as a child, I knew I was going to die. I knew I was just coming here to I was just passing through.
Oh, wow.
I knew it, and then I kind of lost the plot a lot. And I was 37 and I was involved in a light aircraft crash.
Oh,
And that
gosh.
absolutely changed my life because I thought, gee, this is it. And the result of the crash was I completely changed my life from a very hedonistic way of living into I need to get myself well because I knew I wasn't. And I realized that I was contributing nothing to life at all.
Mm.
And so I went on this massive healing journey, which led me to train with the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross organization as a life, death, and transition facilitator. And then that led me into all sorts of different areas of healing and soul healing and exploring what the soul means and what the journey of life means. What is it all about? And that eventually, lots of twists and turns and stuff, led me to do an MA in the rhetoric and rituals of death. And then then I became an end of life researcher. So
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Peter Fenwick was the lead on that, and I was his honorary researcher. And it was lovely because this was one of the first studies into consciousness during the dying process, and it was such a fascinating study that it convinced me that that consciousness continues in some form.
Right.
I can't say what form it is, but it definitely continues in some form, and that led me to study Buddhism and Hinduism and theosophy, all of that. And then I became I trained as a psychotherapist,
Mm-hmm.
specializing in trauma. And but really, what lit my path is when I got the call to become an astrologer.
Oh, wow.
It was
Oh,
just
good.
weird. It was just like I can remember it sitting here. I was working a lot with educating people about how to talk about death and dying and running loads of death cafes
Mm-hmm.
and doing talks on death. And I kept on thinking, it doesn't quite go there. And I can remember just this thing came into me, just said, go and consolidate all your astrological knowledge. And it was like,
Gosh.
oh, okay. Because I'd been studying it for years, but I
Mm.
hadn't kind of really grounded it. And that's why you and us three ended up in class together.
Yes. Gosh, wow, what a story, Sue. And I think on your website you talk about that light aircraft crash, and it was actually a bit more than that. It was actually a near-death experience where you actually sort of
Yeah, well,
talk about leaving the body and
no, that was the mystical experience. So
oh, okay.
that came a bit later. This was during the healing journey I went on, and I had the most extraordinary experience. I've never had one since, and I
Right.
had never had one before.
Okay.
But it was if I was sitting on a train, as you are, as you do, minding your own business.
Yes.
And it felt like this is the only way I can describe it, like the curtains in my forehead parted. It was like a pair of curtains parting, and me disappeared. And I found myself floating in the most extraordinary, exquisite, oh God, can't even explain it. Love, unconditional acceptance and love. And I had a presence. I couldn't see the presence, but I felt this very strong, loving presence just beside me, telepathically communicating with me because it wasn't words being exchanged, but it was knowing. And
Wow.
then I looked down to my left hip and I just saw this stream of, it was like a lion yellow color streaming out of my hip. And I knew that held the story of my life. And I could dive into that stream of yellow and discover was, I suppose it was a life, kind of like a life review. But
Hmm.
before I was just about to do that, I had this this presence communicated to me, listen, life is only an experience, that's all it is. And it was just like, oh my God, of course, that is it. And then I was wanted to ask the present more, but it was just like that was the teachings I was given. Boom, curtains close again, back on the train. And I mourned that love. I still mourn it just talking about
Wow,
it. I can still feel it. I
But
know
do you
that's what I'm
know,
going into.
now you
that's
are talking
amazing.
about it. Do you know the time? I mean, like when it was corresponding in your time, there is anything like that is maybe related with astrology or something that you can put yourself in for the
I
time that
really, I don't,
experience happened?
yeah, I don't know because that was a very chaotic time for me because of what I was doing and healing, and I was doing all sorts of different things. I've plotted the plane crash, and that
Hmm.
was definitely Pluto and Uranus having
Okay.
impact, definitely. But I haven't plotted the mystical experience because I can't remember when it was. But it was several years after the plane crash,
Oh, right. Okay.
and it would have been, and I was having a lot of homeopathy at the time. I was having a lot of acupuncture at the time, and I was going to a lot of very what do you call it, sort of esoteric workshops. So I was
Hmm.
definitely up here, and that's what happened. But it was
Oh,
very Neptunian, very.
Okay.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's very, very interesting. Like that thing,
Mhm.
it's like as if you go into another
Oh yeah,
realm or something like that, no? That you change like kind of the dimension, that
yeah.
kind of feeling.
Well,
That's
it's
very
interesting.
interesting.
The only way I've ever got near to it again when I've taken mushrooms,
Okay.
psychedelic mushrooms, but it isn't quite the same because it's same but different. But the mystical experience was even more intense than mushrooms because it was just happened.
Mm,
And I think I'd spent a lot of time after that talking about mystical experiences and sort of debunking, people say, oh, you can't possibly have happened, it's nuts,
mm,
you had a funny turn. And the people are walking down the street and having them, but they feel so closed down or ashamed to say what's happening to them. They never talk about it.
mm.
So I'm really happy to do that because it happened to me.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was my experience.
I
Mm.
mean, I mean, wow. Yes, it sounds absolutely amazing. And I mean, yeah, you seem to be, broadly speaking, a very positive person who's got a very broad outlook on life as well. And I know you do have an Aquarius sun, which is, and we were talking earlier about eclipses and being born on eclipses and things like that. But it's more than that, isn't it? Because you actually have a Mercury Cazimi as a Mercury
Yes,
Sun Cazimi,
yes.
which I mean it is presumably sort of just tuned in to, I don't know, just finding other stuff out there. I mean,
Yes.
Mercury, Sun in Aquarius, that's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, the thing is, I think for everybody listening, isn't it? When people start talking about your chart, you kind
Yeah.
of go, well, it's my chart, it's who I
Yes,
am. Do you know
sure.
what I mean? So I don't know what it would be like not to have one.
Yes.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I was born with or chose, or I mean, I'm really struggling with free choice at the moment, free will. I
Right.
have no
Oh,
idea.
okay.
No, I don't either.
I
To
don't
be honest,
know.
I'm not sure either, to be honest. The more I look at it, the less sure I am. Mm.
Similar,
So
Unfortunately.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
I sometimes think that I think with the free will, I mean, like, I mean, we are destined for something, and then there are ways to reach that destination. And I think that's the where the free will is. But I think the destination, that what they say, fate is written on your forehead in Turkish. There is a saying. I think that's going to be lived at the end of the day. But I think only that the paths that you
Yeah,
choose to reach there could be different. But it's there. I mean, it's written
yeah.
there. I mean.
But I mean, God, as astrologers, it's so fascinating when you read somebody's chart and you prepare. Well, I prepare the chart. I'm sure you
Mm.
do too.
Sure.
And you kind of get a good understanding of the person before they turn up on
Yeah.
Zoom. I do
Hmm.
only do it on Zoom,
Yeah, of
really.
course. Yeah.
And then, you just say something and they will go, well, how do you know that?
Yes.
Or something's happened and you go, well, actually, the reason why this has happened is, this is how it's playing out for you,
Hmm.
obviously, potential and all. It's, because, oh, I don't know, let's just say Saturn's conjunct your what's it, or
Yes.
something else is happening in the chart. And they go, oh, and it kind of gives them, I think it's sort of, as so many people have said, I am so relieved to know why this is happening,
Yes.
that it
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
Yes.
random.
Definitely.
I'm sure you all get the same.
Yeah.
And that for me is all I need to know, is
Yes.
somebody has felt comforted.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Indeed,
yeah,
yeah, and can see that there's a wider picture that
Yes,
they're kind of within, and
yes,
it's not just kind of them kind of being bombarded by whatever's happening to them,
yes,
but there are systems and there are cycles, and this is
yes,
this is part of a cycle which again will pass, everything will
yes.
pass in the end.
But I think, especially when a lot of people come because they're experiencing grief or,
Yes.
death, and they want to talk about death because nobody
Mm.
wants to talk about it. And I think that's another thing that astrology can help with is, as you're saying, just to explain that we live within cycles, within cycles, within cycles,
Yes.
and everything has a beginning and ending, and it's constantly beginning and ending. And I think every loss that we experience is that preparation for the loss of our physical body.
Oh,
Now,
that's
what
an
happens
interesting thought,
after
Sue.
that, I don't know. I think I know for me, but I can't tell that for anyone else. But I do
Mm.
have some very interesting conversations with clients about their belief system. And of course,
Yes.
it's their belief system, it's not mine.
Yeah.
yeah, true.
Goodness,
And a
yes,
lot of people are
that's.
very, I've been writing a lot about Plato and Aristotle, and
Hmm.
I didn't realize, this is my gap in knowledge, which has now been quickly filled up, that Plato, if you're a Platonist, you're into the world soul, and you're into reincarnation and all of these yummy stuff, and the progression of the soul and the
Mm.
pre-existence of soul. If you're Aristotle, you don't believe in any of that.
Yes.
And so Steve Judd and I, who work together a lot,
Hmm.
he's Aristotle and I'm bloody Plato. So he's also always going, well, that's a load of nonsense, Sue. I go, well, you've got to believe something more than what you do. But some people just don't. And I think though that philosophy offers everyone their belief system. You believe, you don't believe, and you're somewhere in between sometimes. But that's the journey of life,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah. And there's definitely, I think, a sense of astrology to come back to that, just giving you a little window on the universe. I mean, we can't understand all of it. Personally, I feel that everything, every asteroid is relevant, but there's no way you can process all that stuff. So you just, you pick out the core things, and these are the
Yes.
things that you work with and that you're, are quite small brains in a sense, can kind of deal with and try to open up a little bit. But yeah, astrology gives you that just that framework, I suppose, for starting to understand things and a little window on how the universe might actually be.
Yeah, and I'm sure you feel the same. I'm stunned at every client. You see, you're looking at their own unique story. Nobody else is
Yeah,
ever going to experience life the way they do. And here's this
exactly.
chart
Yeah,
just saying this is your own very, very own journey. Nobody else is ever going to do this journey, and how unique and special that is to them. And I think that's something else that if is I like introducing that concept to them, that
mm,
they may feel like they're Joe Ordinary. Well, we are all Joe Ordinary,
yes,
but they're living this totally unique experience of the human condition,
yeah,
and I find that exciting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that's true. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And you talked about the fixed stars. They're definitely wandering into my consciousness at the moment.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
The fixed
Um,
stars. Yeah, sure. Okay.
yeah. And I don't know where to go with it at the moment because, quite honestly, I honestly don't have the time to study them in detail.
Mm.
But they're
Yeah.
definitely knocking on the door, so I think they're in the zeitgeist.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, personally, on a personal level, most of life is about choice, and we have to actually decide, are we going to go in that direction or that direction? And the luckier people who aren't me mostly make that choice probably quite easily and stick to it. But the rest of us who are mutable signs flicker
Yes.
about a bit. But yes, I mean, in the end, you do pick something and you think, okay, no, this is what I'm interested in. And
Yeah.
and some things, that you could be interested in, you just can't go there. You don't have enough time in that
Mm.
one lifetime, perhaps.
No.
It has to be
Yeah.
left to somebody else or the next lifetime.
What do you think, Terry?
About the fixed stars.
Yeah. Do you work with them?
I actually don't really work with them, but I studied horary, and in horary, in the event charts, the fixed stars, we have to look. I mean, like, because sometimes you see very, I mean, like the famous groups of stars, etc. You see around the significators,
Yes.
then it
Yes.
means something. I mean, like you see either like algol or you see
Yeah.
the regulus and
Mm,
all those kind of fixed stars, then you say that okay, there is something. I mean, this is telling a story, and this
Yeah.
can maybe help me to, I mean, find out or whatever, if it's a crime or if it's like a
Yeah.
object or something like that. It helps you. It gives you a sign. I mean, so I think in certain aspects of astrology, I think fixed stars really also, I mean, like if you are born with a fixed star, I mean, like on your ascendant, on your
Yeah.
angles or on
Yeah.
your personal planets,
like our
then
friend Trump.
it can, yeah, like me. Unfortunately, I'm the same with him. I'm like Regulus rising at the end of the day. But it's like, I think it's really important if on your angles, on your birth chart, etc., that you
Yes.
have a fixed star. I think it's good to pay attention. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, just to general
Yeah.
knowledge or get the feeling, I think.
I found it, the algol influence with
Mm,
Uranus smack back on it when it made that square to Mars,
yes.
Yeah.
just literally the day that the Americans went into Iran. I mean, you can't make that up, can
No, no, you can't.
And you suddenly go, oh, off with their heads, of course, yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, and the myths behind it. And yeah, it's just, yeah,
The myths are really vivid and important, I think,
yes,
especially in some people's lives, how they play out through, and you can see that through the chart and through the transits
definitely.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. No,
Yeah.
it is a fascinating, and I'm like you, I just don't have enough life, I don't have enough time left in my life to be able to learn what I want to learn.
Exactly.
I just
Isn't
don't.
that frustrating?
I would have to come back and do it
Or
again.
to write all the things that you want to write. No, no, you don't want to go back and do it again. No, no, you definitely want a different life next time.
Well, do you
Different
know,
challenges.
do you say that? Have you seen this fabulous young man who's the Indian teenager? Have you come
No.
across him? Don't know his name. You have to look him up.
Okay.
He's Hindu,
Mm-hmm.
and he came. I mean, he's been working since he's about 5,
Right.
and he's
Okay.
obviously come in with the knowledge of astrology already.
Okay.
And I can't remember his name, but he's now beginning to get quite a lot of big following because his predictions or themes or whatever you want to call it
Mm.
are absolutely bang on. So he's only a very young guy.
Okay.
So I think he's come through as a seer, like oh God, my name's gone right out of my head. Um, what's his name in the Middle Ages? Or Ada Casey or Notre Dame. That's it.
Oh,
I
right.
think
Okay.
I think
Yes.
he's
Yes,
actually
of
a
course.
modern one of those,
Yeah,
who we need. We need that
we do.
wisdom. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I think he's quite hard to listen to because he's got a very heavy Indian accent, but my God, what he's saying you know, he's not advising anyone. He's
Mm,
just saying he's using Vedic astrology, obviously, not
yeah,
Western
sure.
astrology, but it's very accurate.
Oh, I'll definitely look him up. And
Yeah.
if we can, we'll put a link to him in the notes
Yes,
because he does seem
I'll
Yeah,
dig
yeah,
him
yeah.
up and send you the link, but he's
okay.
very
Yeah,
worth
thank you, Sue.
and
And
turning
this
his
idea of people
logic.
coming into life knowing things, I mean, absolutely, why would we waste all those things that we've spent, generations doing,
Well,
really?
we don't
Not,
need, they don't, the next generation haven't got time.
no, not to learn everything. And I do remember in India actually years ago, I met somebody who said he made violins, and I said, "Really?" A young Dutch guy, who just happened to be traveling as I was, and yeah, he said I did it in a previous lifetime. I know how to do it. Okay.
So maybe he's, you know, maybe they've come through to hone their skill or
Mm,
to really provide something to help humanity because my God, we need it.
we do.
We always get seers in time of stress. There's always prophets knocking about.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that going on YouTube. Some of it I trust and some of it I definitely don't. Because I think a lot of it is clickbait now.
Yeah, that's
Sadly,
true.
Um,
yes. Although Dan, who you mentioned, is very interesting, isn't he? Dan
oh, he's
Waits.
terrific.
Really, really interesting to
I
listen
trust
to.
him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm,
definitely. Me
yeah.
too.
Mm.
So to come back to you,
Oh, yeah.
Sue, I mean, we're going through this healing process and you found astrology and then you set up a series of podcasts, I think, which was super interesting. I listened to lots of those.
Oh, right. Yes, I set up a celebrating astrology, and it's been a long, slow grow,
Right.
which is
But I mean,
fine.
I was going to say, even before that, you were doing podcasts with really interesting people,
Yes,
weren't you?
yes, yes.
Yeah,
I had a podcast called Embracing Your Mortality, which
that's
is
it.
still
Okay.
running and it's still getting hits. I
Okay.
don't contribute to that anymore,
Right.
but I've kept it going. But it's the YouTube because what I wanted to do was I didn't want to just be another astrologer talking about aspects, or I just
Hmm.
didn't want that, or
Yeah.
a mundane astrology. There's loads of fabulous astrologers out doing that, and I'm
Hmm.
not one of them. But what I did want to do is look at all different aspects of astrology. So I've just done an interview with Mark Jones about
Mhm.
astrology and ethics because
Okay.
that's something that's not spoken about, and I think I was really interested to talk to him.
Yes,
Then
he's an
next week,
interesting man.
I've got Paladin Jenkins.
Hmm.
Paladin is a very, very was in the day very well known astrologer.
Mm,
He got involved with something called the Council of Nine,
right.
where
Okay.
do you know? Have you heard about the Council of Nine?
No.
So the
No.
book is called The Only Planet of Choice, and the Council of Nine. It is said are a body of nine higher beings. Now
Hmm.
you've got to suspend disbelief or
Yeah.
not, and they transmitted information to a woman called Dillis somebody. No, not Dillis, Phyllis somebody, and
Okay.
then Paladin was the editor of the book. So he's apps, and they. So this is back at this. So I read it back in the 80s
Okay.
as part of my journey. And really, it's very interesting to look back at the book
Yeah.
because it's dead on what's
Oh,
happening
wow.
now.
Okay.
So he's very interesting. He's also dying. He's dying of blood cancer. So he's very interesting talking about his dying process, whether
Yes.
that's tomorrow or it's in, I don't know, a year's time or
Yeah.
something.
Okay.
And we talked a lot about astrology as well. But I think I think this is where Dan Waits really comes in strongly, talking about the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune and the synchronicity of UFOs or funny things happening that
Mm,
we take us out of our little boxes and
yes.
make us question things. And I think
Hmm.
all of this is part of this Saturn in Neptune Aries coming up. let's think about things differently. Let's you know, let's maybe there will be a lot of spiritual teachers. Some will be great, some won't be, but they will be inviting us to step out of our very conditioned thinking. And I think that's incredibly exciting. Being an Aquarian, by the way,
Yeah.
universal truth, amazing.
Yes.
Probably with the Uranus in Gemini, when Uranus goes back into Gemini,
Yes.
and at a point they will sextile, I think that will probably like amplify all that kind of
Yeah.
thing, because you are just
Yeah.
thinking in a different way. It's
Yeah.
like you are talking about a different mindset, and they are all coming together. It's like a
Yeah. I'm
something
waiting
like
for
that.
something really weird to happen.
Okay.
I'm really weird. I mean,
Really?
whether, you know,
Okay.
oh God, yeah, absolutely. And I'm also waiting, and I've talked about this actually. I've also waiting. I think there's going to be some kind of major uh, volcano or earthquake or something that changes absolutely everything. And I think that's going, I can't predict it, but I think that's going to be something that happens this year or next year
Oh, wow.
to
Sort of on the
shift.
scale of the meteor that wiped out the dinosaurs, or that
I'm
kind of
not saying it'll be that big, but
good.
it will be, I think there's going to be something, and there's a lot of
Okay.
people talking about this now. And
Right.
astrologically,
Yeah.
it it's it could it's a potential. It's a
Right.
potential that could
Okay.
happen.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That is interesting.
And Dan Waits is very clear about, he believes, because of what happened in the last time Saturn and Neptune were together was in the 50s, and that was Roswell. And then before that was I think it was the children in the field in Italy, where they had the Divine Mother appearing to them. That was all Saturn, Neptune coming together. And
Okay.
then the villagers went out and saw this apparition. There's something going to happen. I don't know what it is, but something. I can feel it in my waters.
Good. Well, I seriously hope it kind of it points us all in the right direction for a change, because that would be very reassuring. I
Yes.
mean, to be honest, we need somebody to come down and do something like that, don't we? And say, actually, turn around, it's that way you're supposed to be
Yeah.
going.
I'm
That
not
would
sure
be
it'll,
quite helpful.
yeah, I'm not sure they'll come down. I don't know how it's
Or
going to
up or
happen, but
round or
yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I think something's cooking. That's why I've got hope.
yes. Well, hope. Yes. You need to find it somewhere, and Jupiter's turning direct tomorrow,
Yes.
so hopefully
Yes.
we'll
Yeah,
all have a bit
exactly,
more
exactly,
positivity and hope after that, actually.
exactly.
Yeah.
So coming back to your podcast, which has enabled you to meet some amazingly interesting people, which
Yeah.
must have been wonderful, actually. And that's how you connected with Steve Judd, wasn't it? Was that
No,
through your?
no, no,
Oh,
no,
that was
no,
through your
no.
interviews.
No, no,
No?
I d-
No again.
no. Back it was all about um, we somebody wanted to set up an astrological camp, and
Oh,
I
okay.
can't remember why I thought, well, oh, because we thought Steve Judd in those days was in Bath. This
Right.
was local.
Right.
So I suddenly thought, oh, well, I'll just by off chance get in touch with him. And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. Because you know what he's like. He's like, yeah,
Yes.
I'll do it. And then the camp dissolved, it didn't happen. And then I interviewed him for the AJ, and then the
Yeah.
rest is history. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're still doing those interviews for
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Every month we
Astrological
do it.
Journal, aren't
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
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 And we
They're
get
always.
30,000 hits. I mean, it's just bizarre.
No, it's
We're just
great.
two of us nattering on together. And we never plan it. We just go, well, whatever.
Well, that's probably the charm of it, actually. I mean, people just like that sort of, okay, what comes up, and it's unpredictable,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
script, so that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
No,
really nice.
he's a really good mate, and I really respect him as an astrologer. My God, he
Yeah.
knows what he's doing, and he has that gravitas, which I love.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
it does.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
support him whenever I can.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's wonderful.
Mm.
So,
I mean, like
yeah.
we talk about the dying process, astrology. But with astrology, where do you see yourself? What do you want to do more with astrology? What do you want to maybe specialize more in something else, or you are already like trying to combine the astrology and that experience? Do you want to add anything into that? What do you want to
No,
do?
I'm definitely, this is going to be where I stay now, which is looking at astrology and bringing death together with astrology. Because all my working life, I've been focusing on how do we do dying better? How do we talk about it better? How do we engage with it? How do we lessen the fear and the terror of the fact that we're going to die? So
Yeah.
that's absolutely my work now until I left this mortal coil as well. That for me is and that's why I'm writing the book on astrology of life and death. When it comes out, God only knows, but it's in process. But
Yeah.
that's what I want to focus on, because I'm not interested. I mean, it's lovely to do astrology, a basic astrology and read people's charts. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, but it isn't the love, and the love is actually talking about death. That's my
Right.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm here to do. And I think bringing the astrology into is really helpful. I was just doing a talk about this actually for the scientific and network. When did I do it? This last week, just talking about, bringing the conversation in about how astrology can help us understand the cycles of life and the cycles of endings and beginnings. And that was really fun to do. So, and I've got another one coming up. I can't remember, in a month's time or something. So
Good.
that's what I'd like to see grow.
Yeah, okay. What in general as well, that's just sort of how death is because we kind of phased it out of our Western
Yeah.
consciousness, didn't we? It was kind of something that became taboo in a sense, and
Well,
difficult to talk
it
about.
it got elbowed aside, let's say, as it came out of, into the Western culture, obviously with the church. I'm not
Mm,
church bashing, obviously, but there was a
mm,
huge conflict with the church, and the church basically took over the ownership of soul. And then
yes.
with the time of enlightenment, it definitely got pushed aside because astrology and astronomy got separated, and
Mm,
astronomy was accepted because it was, you could prove it mathematically, but astrology you can't prove. You cannot prove what we do. It's not possible. But it works. And
yeah.
and that, that got me into the Hermetic teachings and the Gnostic teachings.
Hmm.
And, how do we use those teachings, those ancient teachings, to help us understand the journey of our life, the experience of the human condition? And that's what fascinates me. And I think for me,
Yes.
all the work I've done in end of life and death and dying, astrology for me is the light that went on for me, going, that's for me, that this is the way.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And for sure, I mean, help through our journey is crucial, isn't it? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not easy down here.
No, it's not, but it's not
Nobody's,
meant to be.
no,
I
sadly.
think that's another thing that's really exciting to talk about as well. That I think, looking back in time, it's always been that. I've just written an article for the AJ about
Hmm.
Pluto out of bounds,
Oh, okay.
tracing all the history of going back to the medieval times, when Pluto was out of bounds in Pisces. And of course, this is when the church was at its most dominant. And this is when the time of the Ars Moriendi. I'm not going to go into it all now.
Hmm.
And then you go, through Henry VIII time, Pluto was out of bounds in Scorpio, and he broke with the church because of his lust
He
for
was out of
Anne
bounds also.
and you work it through up until now, and it's just incredibly synchronistic. When
Right.
Pluto goes out of bounds, shit happens. And it's
Okay.
always to do with understanding or recalibrating our relationship with life and death.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
super
It's
interesting. So,
fascinating.
Pluto then presumably is currently out of bounds
It
and
is. It's out of bounds south in Aquarius.
okay.
Absolutely. To
And we'll stay
until
there until
Well, it's not out of bounds all the time. It flows in
Oh,
and flows out. So
okay.
it's
okay.
really important to think it is not an event, it's a process.
Okay.
And I think that's really important. So yes, it goes from, so it was 2025 it went out in and it's going to come back in again at 2035. But because it's an Aquarius, for me, Rosie Finn's done a lot of research on Pluto out of bounds.
Mm,
And she says when it goes out of bounds north, it's more to do with tyrants, which very much fits in with my understanding of
hmm
the cycles of Pluto out of bounds north. When it's out of bounds south, it's more to do with revolutions. I mean, both
Okay.
bring big, big change, big death.
Mm,
Um, but in Aquarius, for me, God, isn't this a chance to do things differently? You know, Aquarius is
I mean,
about challenging
potentially.
old taboos and it's about collective ways of understanding and confronting our understanding of death. So,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
think
with Pluto as Lord of the Underworld, you mean?
yes,
Yes, okay, that's
yes,
interesting. Yeah, interesting connection.
yeah. So well, I mean, he's definitely my hero because I'm so passionate about talking about death. So, I'm onto Pluto at the moment. I'm really interested in how it's playing out and watching it playing out. And I will be very interested to see what happens from what's happening in the Middle East and what Pluto is going to bring to the surface around that.
That's
Very
interesting,
interesting.
isn't it? And what remind me Pluto in your chart? How does that fit
Mine's
in?
okay, mine's in Leo in the ninth.
Okay.
And it's it's a very wide conjunction to my South Node.
All right, okay.
Yeah. And it's played a huge role in my life. I mean, it's just been
Right.
dominant. The whole Pluto thing is dominant.
Does it aspect the major the lights, the sun and moon, or
No, well, you could argue it's opposite my sun, but it's a
right?
very wide conjunction. But apart from that, it's actually unaspected.
Is it? Well, that
Yeah,
in itself is very interesting,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. I mean, that's
Mm.
another rabbit hole.
Yes.
Unaspected. Here we go.
Yeah,
Unex
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love an
Unexpected.
unaspected planet.
I don't like that when I see, oh my God, what's going on? It's like, yeah, that there is something going on, really. Like when I see, especially luminaries unexpected, it's like you start thinking, oh my God, what's going on? It's like with this person or something you try to
Yes,
understand, especially the moon is off, and then you are saying, what is it? What is the inner world? What is the inner voice telling you
yeah,
about? I think it's really, I think, complicated and the place that sometimes I don't want to be
yeah,
unexpected.
But sometimes it can be really special, actually. I've seen that too. You know,
Yeah,
you get
yeah,
people
yeah,
who
of course.
are really strong in
yeah,
that area. And
yeah.
for instance, an unaspected moon can enable you to connect. And I've seen it in the charts of a couple of really well-known people who
Oprah
just
Winfrey's
connect
got
with
it.
people. Yeah, who just have
Yeah,
that ability to bring
yeah,
people in. It's
yeah.
phenomenal, actually.
I think it's quite hard when you've got Mercury unaspected because
Right.
you've got a very, very overly busy mind.
Okay. Yes. Yes,
So
because
I
it's
think
got
that
nowhere to go.
exactly,
Yeah.
it's got nobody to rub up against or have a
hmm
relationship with. So I think that's quite challenging.
Can be very much in your own
Yeah,
head. Yes, I can see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I sometimes I think they don't know what to do with what how they're thinking and what they're thinking and
Mm.
it's frightening. So it's quite frightening.
Mm.
So, and I think that's another thing about astrology when somebody's frightened, and you can look at their aspects and you can actually say it's okay. So, to become aware that this is
Yes.
then about have a relationship with it. And I
Have a
think this,
relationship with your fear, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So,
with the planet,
and
talk
that
to it.
separates it from you, of course, which is
Yes,
always a good thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So I do a lot of, I send a lot of people who which I feel need extra help because it's only a one hit with me.
Sure.
But I have a list of people I send people on to,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
family constellation work or trauma therapists
Mm.
or people who do astro constellations,
Yeah. Yeah.
so they can
No,
get an
that's
understanding of
definitely a
how is
good
this
plan.
happening. Yeah. And it's this not being in control, but being aware, this is what happens to me, and catching it. And
Yes.
then you can, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
that's
important. That's
Very
very
true.
important. I think it's like,
yeah.
I mean, that will continue happening, but at least you know what is the underlying
Yes.
reason behind that. I mean, that to be aware of that and
Yes.
to live it consciously instead of
Yes.
trying to understand like where the hell is this
Yeah.
coming from. I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, I mean, I just very quickly, I have something called a Thor's hammer in my chart, which goes
Mm,
straight to my moon.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's caused me endless pain because I
right.
can't ever stop. It's
Gosh.
constantly driving me to the moon, to,
Mm,
to go deep, to go, to analyze, to, Virgo, to research all the time. But now I'm older and I understand it. I can actually go, I'm not doing that today. I'm going in my garden, and I'm
yes.
going to use that side of moon in Virgo,
Virgo. Yeah.
not the driven side of it, moon in Virgo. And I think that's
Mm,
the glory of understanding your chart,
mm,
the negative and the positive, or the yin and the yang, or whatever you can't call it.
mm.
That you can actually, there's always another way. There's
Yes,
another way it can
indeed.
play out.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And there's something I think, yeah, well, Virgo always seeks solutions, of course, but there's
Mm.
also something about just trying to sort out all the chaos and put it into,
Yes, yes,
work out how it all fits together, which
yeah,
is definitely something that seems to be a theme as you've been talking about your life and how things have come together for you so
yeah,
latterly.
yeah.
So that's amazing, Sue, actually. So just to wrap up, so you've got the book coming out. You're
No, 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 not yet.
No,
not
Don't,
no,
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 not
no,
yet.
no.
Sorry, the book
process,
is very much
No.
in the process of being
work in
written.
progress.
Oh
Sorry,
my
Yeah.
can't
God.
edit that out, but
No, don't give me a
because
deadline.
Terry and
No,
I aren't very good at editing. But
it's a long, long process.
okay.
And I did think, oh, I'll knock it off, in a couple of months, but no, it's going to be at least a year.
Oh, right. Okay. So
At
not that
least.
long a process. I mean,
Yeah.
we can envisage that sort of maybe 2027, 28. We might be looking
Oh
forward
yeah.
to.
I'm hoping.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I've got people interested, which is good. Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's great
Yeah.
news. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But
very
that's
lovely.
that's that's a labor of I don't know if it's love is the right word. It's a labor of something.
Inevitability by the sounds of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Of fascination, I think. A labor of fascination.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's ongoing in the background.
Yeah.
I can imagine you sitting down and
Yep.
sort of keeping on with that. And then you're obviously writing this article for the AJ,
That's
which
done.
coming
Yeah.
out. So
Tick
that's
that one
great.
off. Yep.
Yeah. And then there's the interviews, and we can find you on YouTube
Yes,
as well.
yes. And I have a very busy practice.
Great.
So I'm fortunate. Yeah, I'm booked up until the end of June.
Oh gosh,
Wow,
Yeah, and
amazing.
I'm
that's
hoping
nice.
I'm
Very
I'm
nice.
planning on taking July and August off, but I
Okay.
think I might just keep going in July and then take August off to write.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, gosh, Sue, that sounds really, really busy. So,
Yeah.
congratulations on all that,
Thank
on
you.
putting all that together.
But I got the call.
Yes, indeed.
I went, all right, I'll do it.
And that's a commitment, isn't it? There you go,
Yeah.
right.
Well,
It's a
you have to
commitment.
sign up to the universe, don't you? You have to
Yeah,
say,
indeed.
I hear you, I'm on it, and I'll do it.
Yeah,
And then leave it up to the universe to do the rest.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
That's
exactly, exactly.
that's a great note to end on, I think. It's
Yeah,
been fabulous
exactly.
talking to
Oh,
you.
it's been,
Thank
I love
you.
Thank you so
seeing the
much.
two of
Thank
you
you so
again.
much. Thank you so much. So we will
Okay.
see everyone in another recording of ours. And again, we thank you so much for being with us today. And it was very nice to see her. Until next time. Okay.
We'll put all the links in the notes. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, 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 exactly.
Okay.
So,
Bye-bye.
bye.